in the field, which is very exciting.
Yeah, it's very popular,
Yeah.
the new turf field,
Yeah.
so.
If I can just ask
You
a question. As a parent of children who are in Phelps, I'll say that it feels wonderful, everybody being there, and it seems like things are going very smooth. I know there was a lot of preparation that went into merging the three schools, and is what we're seeing on the parent and the kid side. Is that reflective of sort of how everybody feels being in the school? Is everybody happy, well-matched, getting their feet under them?
I will say, I think it's a great question. First of all, I'm very proud of the preparation work that we started, as you know, 2 years out, merging the three schools into one. With meetings, I mean, it started before that. Colleen Forlizzi was doing this work. We knew that this was going to be a cultural challenge, right? You had three separate communities with a long history. It was going to be hard on the community and the whole thing. And so I'm very proud of how Michelle Scheifele, quite honestly, and Jan took the lead on this and did a really fine job. I think once they got into the Phelps, they've been so focused on the benefits of being in a new building that the energy, it's so positive. It really is positive. And I don't want to say that people have forgotten about the building, but it's sort of like if you bought a new house or you move into a new apartment, I think, you know, there's some nostalgia for sure, but they're very focused on the mission at hand, which is the kids in front of them. So I just said, it's sort of funny you asked this question. I just said to Michelle the other day, I think around holiday time, we need to take a pause and sit down and say, how are things going? Because one thing that we are seeing as a challenge is you had a sub-separate program, a different style sub-separate program in each of the three elementaries. All three are now in one building. But just because you have the same number of students and the same number of programs, because they're in one building, it's got a very different feel to it. And it's a lot. So I think we have some unpacking to do, but it's something that we didn't anticipate, which I knew we would have things that we couldn't anticipate, but there are certainly a ton of benefits. But it's different having 700 kids in one building than having 200 kids in a building. So there's differences, and I'm super proud of the staff. The staff that are dealing, they're just, it's very positive. The energy is positive. The teachers are staying upbeat, even through some pretty serious challenges, behavioral challenges, and things like that. And I'm very proud of Michelle. I think she's done an extraordinary job, and Stephanie and everybody down there, and Kelsey. You know, just they're doing a great job. The car line is a great example. The car line, you know, the first day, I think we had traffic all the way into Braintree, for crying out loud. But you go over now, and it's like a well-oiled machine. And the staff, they're all out there, and they have their vests on, and the parents are happy, and they're in and out in 8 minutes. And so, you know, I think our police department has done an extraordinary job. So we definitely have some challenges, but I'm very hopeful, and there are certainly benefits. Staffing, Jane and I have been talking about that from a budgetary standpoint. So I'm sorry to talk so long, but I think I'm excited by that question because it's something that we need to continue to unpack, and so we'll be doing that as the year goes on.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. I know, you know, we used to do the updates about the physical space, but now that they're in it, I think it's helpful to have the updates on, you know, the curriculum and the team, and I do think, you know, and I think I speak on behalf of the whole committee that we're very proud of the amount of support that administration has given to the staff in moving into that new building, in the merging of the cultures. And so thank you for that, because our kids are definitely benefiting from it.
Yeah.
And so would love to continue to get updates on that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It'll be interesting. I know they have their first parent-teacher conferences coming up in a couple weeks, so that will
This
be.
week.
Is it this week coming up?
Doing report cards was a challenge.
Report cards and mailing those.
Yeah, the things that Dr. Cron would say a lot last year, we don't know what we don't know, as we're preparing for things. And then today, there was things like, ooh, X2 doesn't really know how to do Phelps report cards.
Right. Yeah.
And so, and, you know, it was resolved in 20 minutes, but for a minute, it was like 20 minutes, it's like, ooh,
What are we going to do now?
how are we going to get a report card?
Right.
Yeah.
And and holiday concerts and all the fun things that
Well, the
are
new
going with
spaces and what it
holiday
affords, the
shopping. Yeah,
opportunities,
yeah,
and
yeah.
I've asked very specifically, I'd like to see an elementary musical type performance this year on that stage and in that space. It's a beautiful space. They have beautiful music rooms now. Let's see a performance, and I don't care if it's a Oscar-winning performance, but let's start somewhere and get it going, and because those kind of experiences are super fun for the kids and stretch them in different ways, and so the space is just great. And the before and after school program is, it's a lot of work, but we have 200 kids before and after school every single day.
We do indeed.
And I think as a parent, what does that allow our parents to do? Allows them to get to work on time. It allows them to work late if they have to, and we know it's a service to the community, and so that feels really good, and the kids are happy, and so.
Also a well-oiled machine.
I agree. Yeah,
Yes.
I agree.
Yeah.
The staff down there are great attitudes, and
Mhm.
they come every day, which is a big deal, consistency, so.
They're in it to win it.
And
Yeah.
they are very good cheerleaders on the playgrounds.
Yeah.
There were a couple kids outside in aftercare when they were having the soccer games at the field, so they were cheering on your varsity athletes. So it was pretty
Wonderful.
cool. They were on top
Full
of the
circle.
slides, so, cheering as they were going down,
Yeah.
chanting, "Let's go Bulldogs." It was very cute.
That's
So
awesome.
just sort of seeing the worlds mesh that maybe didn't happen before, so.
I'm proud of the campus. I think it's beautiful.
It is.
It's really nice to see, it's really nice to see where it's come. I hope the town's proud of it. And I keep saying this to people, but if you haven't seen the Phelps and you want to, call my office and we'll set up a time and I'll walk you through it. Jan and I will walk you through it. We're not that big a town, so, I want everyone to see it. They should be proud of it. So, anyway.
Okay, moving on to completed fundraisers. We have two tonight. We have, for the class of 2024, Mr. Rockland raised $565. And the class of 2024 and 2025 did a pie and cookie dough fundraiser, and they raised $246.78. So good job to all of you for raising some money. We have new business that we're going to go right over to requests for fundraisers. We have Winter Track selling team gear to be determined for the date. We have track and field teams doing a 5K race with a to-be-determined date. In the class of 2025, selling Rockland sweatpants from November 14th to November 28th. I'll entertain three motions for approval.
3 seconds.
All those in favor? And that's a vote. Flip this page, flip this page. Class sizes for 2023-2024 year, Dr. Cron?
I don't have a ton to say about this because we just went through the overall numbers and enrollment, but I will point out school choice. And I think it's great that nearly 80 students from other communities are choosing to attend the Rockland Public Schools. And you'll notice, the high school has a good number of students who are enrolling, and I think it's great that students are choosing to come here, and I know I would be very comfortable bringing my kids here. Jane and I have said that a number of times.
I wish I had.
Because I think it's a great high school, high school. So it's a very, some of these grades, when you see 5th grade with 10 kids, some of these grades are grade 9. These are particularly challenging years for kids, and they're choosing to come here. Maybe a fresh start, maybe academic, maybe programs that they find attractive, but 78 students attending our school from other communities is pretty cool.
Right.
So I don't know if anyone has any questions about class sizes.
Do you see any trends that they've started in elementary school and they do school choice throughout their whole school career? Or is this sort of, they come in and do they stay
Yeah.
here? I don't know if we
I
had
haven't
like
really
that
noticed.
type of data.
A
yeah.
little bit, some do fall off if they're staff children. Sometimes they do tend to go to their high school in their hometown.
As they get
As
older.
as they get a little older, we've seen some of that, but that's the minority. The overwhelming majority are folks who are genuinely interested in school choice and are participating in the program and coming from other communities and driving their own kiddos here, because we do not provide transportation for school choice students.
And do we know if any of these are past Rockland residents that have moved and kept their kids in? I forget
I
what
think
that's
there
called.
probably are.
There's a
Original,
sprinkling.
or,
There's a
you know.
few.
Right, there's a sprinkling, but it genuinely is school choice.
Okay.
Folks are here under school choice, and the others, they're not one-offs, but they're few. Yeah, and higher at the elementary level for choice than at the high school level.
I don't blame them for wanting to come here and be a bulldog,
Neither.
right? I've been toting it for years. They're finally listening.
Another quick question.
Sure.
The students that are attending the Bridges Academy, they're counted in the normal
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're
class?
just-
They're not
that's where they are.
separated in numbers?
They're
Okay.
counted in the
They're-
regular
they're-
class
okay.
size,
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, thank you. Any other questions? All right, for Rockland Education Foundation grants, we were awarded $40,000 in grants this year. And Dr. Cron
Actually,
gave a...
40, almost 48,000.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's almost 20, if I remember correctly, it's about $20,000 more this year than it has been in years past. It's usually around 25, 26,000, if my memory serves me, which it often doesn't. But in this case, I think I'm right. So it's a much higher number, and I don't know if it's because of the Scott McKinley Impact Grant that gives 10,000. That might have pushed it up quite a bit. But again, I don't know if everyone out there in TV land knows what the Rockland Education Foundation is, but Scott McKinley and Dick Phelps and others founded this program to provide innovative, creative grants to our teachers for them to sort of extend themselves in their classrooms to do things that are a little outside the box, for lack of a better term. And so it's great for our teachers to do this. I'm proud of our teachers because they're busy as it is with their curriculum. So there'll be years when we don't get a lot of applications, and it's because they're busy. And
That's right.
applying for a grant, implementing a grant, reporting on a grant, that's extra work. And but $47,000 have gone, to the creativity of the teachers. And to me, it's more than the $47,000, and I've said this to Mr. McKinley and Regina Quirk and the whole team. It's much more than the money. We're multi-million-dollar budget, $38,000 seems like a relatively small amount of money, but to me, it represents a very important constituency that's out there in the community that is engaged and that cares about the Rockland Public Schools and the kids here.
Right, I
And,
agree with that.
and I think that's what they really represent, is that they run a golf tournament and 200 people participate, and they participate for the kids of Rockland. And I think that's the true value of the Rockland Education Foundation. So I'm super grateful, and we're very fortunate to have them. And these grants are fun, and it's always great to see what comes of it. I remember when I was a principal and we got our first 3D printer, and seeing the kids mess with it, and because the foundation bought it.
Right.
So it's just a great program. We're very lucky to have them, and so thank you to the Rockland Education Foundation.
I agree. I think that the people that are part of the Rockland Education Foundation believe in this town, they believe in these schools, they
Yeah.
believe in our students, and that's what I think shows. They put, a lot of hard work and effort into
Yeah,
earning the money to be able to give it back to our kids.
absolutely.
And I think that it's just full circle, like you're talking about kids cheering on kids on the turf, and then here's adults that grew up in this town, that taught in this town and worked in this town, raised their kids in this town, and here they are giving back to the kids in this
Yeah.
town.
I want to mention the Lordy family too, because Scott's name and Dick's name comes to mind because I've known them for so long. I don't know Gus Lordy as well, but he was a founding member as well.
Correct.
So I want to acknowledge that family, great family, and they work hard on that golf tournament, and that's where they raise the majority of their money.
Right.
So, anyway, I didn't want to leave that name out. It's very important.
No, I think you were spot on to say it, so.
And to your point, Jill, our friend Dan Biggins would always say that Rockland is the little town that could.
Right.
And this just like is the epitome of it for
Right.
me.
Yeah.
It's
So
the little town with the big heart.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
think it just goes, it just keeps going.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
much
is.
much more important than the money. To me, it's that they're out there and they're really rooting for us and
Right.
and doing all this work. The amount of work that it takes
Yes.
to do this. I've been to their meetings. I mean, it's a lot of work, and these are
Right.
busy professional
Exactly. This
people
isn't
that are
their
running
only gig.
businesses
Right.
and their own businesses, and they take time out to have these meetings, and they take it very seriously. And
Right.
so we're very fortunate, and I hope they feel appreciated, but we sure do appreciate them.
And they're excited to hear what the teachers have done with the grant and how the students, like, they want to know full circle too.
Yeah, we should do something for them.
Yes.
We'll talk about it tomorrow.
But I think it's very cool. We're very lucky to have it in this town, so very much appreciated.
Yeah,
100%.
yeah, great.
Okay. So on to 2023 School Resource Officer Memorandum of Understanding. Have we always had this and I just never, okay. I'm like, I don't know that I've been here 6 years, the chairman
Yeah.
for a handful or whatever, and I'm like, I don't remember seeing this.
We actually were supposed to have one, and I
Okay.
just think we never really got around to doing it.
Yes, and I'm not sure if it's a guideline, a requirement, or
Suggestion.
a best practice, et cetera, but when the chief came in, it was something that we identified with Chief Cioli and
Ethan.
Ethan, thank you, Officer Snable, and worked through, he worked collaboratively with other communities, got theirs, we believe it's reflective of the Rockland way. And it gives us standing and authority, and gives Ethan standing and authority in various situations to be able to lean back on this document.
And to work with other communities a little more fluidly.
Right.
Correct.
So that's what it's about.
And then every year, we submit it to DESI with our social emotional budget.
Oh, perfect, okay.
Yep.
So kudos to all of them for getting this all documented. I read through it, and it's so detail-orientated and very sort of inclusive as far as what is expected, I guess.
It's got a lot of legalese because it really, a school resource officer is always a police officer, but they are also working in a school.
Right.
So they have a different set of skills and tools, and so it really, I think, tries to separate their role as a police officer and their role as a resource officer, which are the same but different.
Right.
And so there are certain things that, when you're functioning as a police officer, there's certain chain of command and chain of evidence and certain procedures that are very legal. In school, we have our own set. And the two together, what I learned as a relatively young vice principal, is when you put the tools and the law that governs schools together with the law and procedures that govern the police department and even the judges system, when you put the three of them together and they work well together, you're really a true support system for kids. Because no one wants to see a kid in jail. No one wants to see a kid taken out of the house. No one wants to see a kid arrested or put in jail.
Right.
Not the judges, not the police officers, no one. So when we work together, we can do a lot of things. We can do things they can't do. They can do things we can't do. So
Right.
it's good. And again, very lucky to have Chief Cioli and Ethan and I'm gonna
Ryan's
and
role.
Ryan. I'm sorry, Ryan. I apologize. Your name doesn't come to my tongue as quickly as Ethan's.
He won the
but
donut
it
eating
will.
contest on Halloween.
He's doing a great job. We're very.
With the kids
Yeah, he's
on
a
the
home
string.
run. He's been a great addition, so.
We're lucky to have them all.
We are.
But the kids are lucky because they get to see a police officer in a different light.
Yeah.
Yes.
Doing a donut contest isn't the way they would see a police officer driving down the road. And I think that opens up to a student, a child's understanding of who a police officer can be. They don't always have to be the guy arresting the guy.
Right.
You know, they can be your neighborhood friend,
Absolutely.
you know? So I think it just, This was outstanding. Great idea. I don't know who thought of it, but I think it's great.
Chief Cioli.
Yeah,
Chief
Chief
Cioli,
Cioli.
all right, thank you.
I enjoy the part where it talks about the training, because we all know that teachers have the training that they
Right.
have to go through. But the section about training for the SRO, I think is really important. I think that's great that people can see that they're actually, there's an intent for this. It's not just, we've assigned this to them. There's training that they go through, just like our teachers do, just like our administrators do.
Right.
I really appreciate that.
I agree.
Right, we don't just take a police officer
Right.
from the car who's, doing his details and go, okay, you're a resource officer now. They
Right.
go through a pretty extensive,
Yeah.
and then they have to retrain on a regular basis.
Yeah.
And they collaborate with one another. Again, as a vice principal, one of my best friends and person I worked with every single day was a school resource officer, and he was a detective in the police department in Milton, and we worked hand in hand all day long. He was very important to the school.
Quick question.
Sure.
Has this document been shared with the rest of the administration throughout the
Actually, we
schools?
vetted it
And-
with
okay,
them
you did,
before,
perfect.
yeah, before we were bringing it to you for approval, and they were all on board. Yeah.
Anything?
If anyone watching from a parental standpoint, is it available for others to
That's a good
view?
question.
Is it something that would be on our website?
Normally, I would say yes, but because it's a police
Right, I'm
document.
gonna
Okay,
say
I
Because
just
no.
was
it's,
curious.
I don't
Okay.
want to say yes because I'm not sure. Let me think about it
Yeah.
and read it and talk to the chief.
Yeah.
Because
It's not
we
a-
keep
it's not a
our-
handbook that
No,
we
but we
keep out
keep
there,
our,
yeah.
we keep our security plans and
Right,
our
there's safety
things.
measures and-
We keep them
Yep.
to ourselves
Yep.
because, but for the community, what I think they need to know is that we have an agreement
Right.
with the police department, and I can guarantee you that their goal is our goal, and that's what's best for the kids. And
Perfect.
that, there's no doubt about that, no doubt about that.
All right.
Thank you.
So I
Anything
think we need a vote on that one.
Okay, that's what I was just going to say. I will entertain a motion to approve the 2023 School Resource Officer Memorandum of Understanding between Rockland Public Schools and Rockland Police Department.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor? Okay. Now we will go on to Dr. Cron's Superintendent's Evaluation for the goals of 2023-2024.
Yeah, on this.
No pressure.
Yeah, right. Oh, I think I got it, okay. There we go.
There you go.
All right, so, goal number one is implementing year 2 of the new 5-year strategic plan. And what we do, there are 30-plus strategic initiatives within the plan. And we go through and we pick one from each strategic initiative, one from each of the 5 strategic initiatives. We pick one of the action points to focus on, so we have a little focus. And at the end of 5 years, the plan is that we will have hit all of them. What we're finding, however, is that some really encompass others. So if you're doing one, you're sort of doing the others. So you may never see some of the specific strategic initiatives being chosen as targets because they're being covered when we hit others, but it's still good to have them in the plan. So the first one is Strategic Initiative 1.1. We are sticking with the transition theme for a second year. I think it's served us very well. I'm hearing teachers use the term transitions. We're seeing meetings. I think it's benefiting our students. Transitions could be a student going from grade to grade. It could be a graduate going into college. Transition could be pre-K to K. So every transition, what I'm finding is that it's resulting in more collaboration. So second grade teachers collaborating with first grade and with third grade, and I think it's benefiting our students. So we found that the complaints that we've heard in the past we're not hearing anymore, particularly in 5th grade with the transition to a new school. So we're going to continue that theme for another year. Provide PD and staff training in best inclusive and anti-bias practices. So that's strategic initiative 2.1. I'm going to talk a little more about that in a goal number 4. So I'm just leave that as that. Building schedules. We've spent a lot of time hyper-focused on the elementary for obvious reasons. And this year I'm looking a lot more closely at the middle school and the other buildings for their schedules. I know the high school schedule because I was very much a part of creating it, and so I understand it, and it's the same schedule that was in place, I think, around 2013, and it served us very, very well. I think it's a great schedule for a whole bunch of reasons, but I'm going to look hard at the middle school schedule this year. Review and revise staffing plans to reflect student needs. That sounds fairly general, but we are in very difficult budget times. And when you have to make decisions about money, you're making decisions about what programs you're supporting and how you're growing. During COVID, we grew a whole wing of our school. And then post-COVID, we had to shrink that back again. And so we're still in the process of looking hard at staffing plans, and we want to make sure that it's reflecting students' needs, but the students that we have in front of us now, right? Because they're different than they were 2 years ago. And so we're looking at that. And finally, under our financial strategic initiative, we're continuing to work with town and state officials to increase funding support recurring costs within the tax base. So that's not just within the town of Rockland, but between Jane and I, we are working hard with DESE and with our senators and our advisors and the superintendent's commission, which works closely with the governor's office, and we're trying very hard to let them know what is going on the ground here and what we need. And I think it's moving the needle a little bit. We've seen, Jane happens to have sort of a history and relationship with a number of very influential politicians, and we've seen them stand up and make statements about, special education and some of the immigration issues that are going on now, things that we've been pushing hard on. So I'm not saying that we've had any effect, but maybe, and we're going to keep working at it because that's how government should work. And they take my calls, they take Jane's calls, and so we're going to keep working at that. Goal number 2, engage in a comprehensive review of special education. This is a 2-year goal, and I'm starting it this year. We're doing a book study with the senior administration. We've chosen a book called Reimagining Special Education by Rufo and Costin, and we started with chapter 1 this morning, talking about it, looking at some video of the authors and having some discussions, and so that's the first action mark. Collect and analyze SPED data, so everything related to budget, staffing, out of district, and transportation. I am personally going to meet, I've already had one meeting with them, with the IEP chairs, so we have one in each level. We want to calibrate the IEP process, and what I mean by that is I am not trying to limit the number of IEPs that we have. I will never say we have too many IEPs. What I do want to make sure of is that an IEP is an IEP is an IEP at all levels, and when a student goes into an IEP that they need it, and that they understand there's an on-ramp and that there's an off-ramp, just like a doctor, if I were treating someone for something that they were working on, there may be an end to it. With some, there isn't an end, and you continue to work. But I don't want a student pulled from anything to be treated with special education if they don't need it, because then they're missing out on something else. So we are looking hard at the IEP process across all schools and levels, and it is a fact that requests for testing, requests for IEPs has risen dramatically, not just in Rockland, but across the area and across the state. And so it's something we really need to look at. And finally, we're going to work hard to make sure that folks understand what the district curriculum accommodation plan is. We call it the DCAP. So oftentimes, a report card will go home, and a parent will see that their grade has dropped dramatically, and they'll come in and say, what's going on? And does my child have a learning disability, or what's going on? And so we'll talk about it, and sometimes you will test for a learning disability, and other times it could be organizational. It could be that they need additional support in one class. For my children, it'd be that one subject comes more naturally to them than another. Some may need more time. Like, I happen to be a very slow learner. Once I get it, I've got it, but I don't get it immediately. I'm not a first-time person, I'm a second-time person. So the DCAP is something that's available to all children, and we can put it in place, and the teachers will follow it, and it could be something as easy as checking in with the student once a week, helping them with their planner, giving them reminders in class, giving them printed versions of things rather than just on their computer. So there are a whole host of things that we can do through the DCAP that sometimes we'll say, let's try this in the DCAP, and if in 3-4 weeks we're not seeing a change, then we'll come back and we'll try some testing. So DCAP is like the first step, and I want to make sure that everyone understands that you have that at your disposal. But overall, one of the reasons that I am looking at special education is that of our budget, special education is responsible for minimally 35% of our budget. That's a lot. And it's on the rise, and it needs to be looked at. It needs to be looked at in Rockland, it's being looked at across the state, it's being looked at across the country. And I think we need to look at it and make sure that we're using it. We have incredible interventionists, we have speech and language, we have OT, we have PT, and we have all kinds of things in place to make sure that our students who have needs are getting what they need. If we intervene early, sometimes it really helps and has a compounding effect. So we're hyper-focused on the young kids, and the teachers and the team at Phelps are doing a great job, but special education is something that I am hyper-focused on, and so I wanted to make it one of my goals. Oh, we're gonna, also I'll be meeting with the CPAC, Special Education Parent Advisory Council. I think it's important that parents have some resources and a collaborative, group. So Dr. Maniglia and I are going to make sure that the Special Education Parent Advisory Council, or CPAC, continues to be active. We had Michelle Kippingham for many years, complete rock star. She was a resource not just for Rockland people, but for people from all over the area would call her. Well, she's not doing this job anymore, and so we want to make sure that continues. Goal number 3 is a successful DESE targeted review process that's going on this year. Oh, joy, because we didn't have anything else to do. So, but we're welcoming it, we're embracing it, we're saying come on in, and quite honestly, the indicators that they are looking at, I personally think we are knocking out of the park. So I'm excited to have them come in, because if we can do it better, great. But I really think that they're going to come in and tell us that they think we're doing things pretty darn well. But if we can learn from it, great. So we're going to do it. So the first thing is coordinate the DESE review process, complete the self-study that's done already. That's phase 1. Prepare and deliver all the data requested by the self-study committee, because there will be, 100 documents minimally and data sets that we have to give them. And then they come for a whole week. I think they're coming in February, right after break. They spend a week with us, interviews, focus groups. You'll be asked as school committee members to do an interview with them. We'll probably get our student rep involved and have her part of the interviews, or a
She's thrilled, you can tell.
oh yeah, it's going to be a blast. It'll be cookies. So anyway, that's happening, and we're embracing it and trying to have a great attitude about it, and so far so good. And finally is year 2 of a 2-year goal that is about being inclusive and equitable. We want a district culture that is inclusive and equitable. And first thing we're doing is we're going to continue to emphasize our 3rd core value. We believe in a safe, collaborative, and inclusive learning environment. And I want that to mean, I don't care if it's a race issue, what color you are, if you're gay, if you're transsexual, if you're transitioning, if your parents are, you have 2 fathers, if you have 2 mothers, if you are poor, if you're wealthy, if you're homeless, if you're not. Like, this school should be a place where everyone feels welcome and where everyone feels safe and feels like they can learn. And I believe in that deeply. When people say diversity and equity, sometimes we just talk about race. Gender, it's another one. How do women feel coming to school, girls versus boys? And I want to challenge our teachers and our staff to ask themselves what they believe, because it drives how they interact with our students. So we're going to continue with our third core value and our second strategic initiative, which is to promote our policies, practices, and procedures for an inclusive climate culture and equitable access. So, for example, at the high school, daring discussions is an activity that they have, a club that they have, and they take on all kinds of daring discussions, and they have them. Our student council is incredibly engaged and working to make people feel welcome and to promote, this type of environment. So we're doing a lot of really good things, but I think we have to keep asking and questioning how well we're doing it. We're also going to look at some concrete things like our student handbooks and our policies, and I want to look at them. Are they using language that is somehow offensive? I offend people on a daily basis, and I don't do so because I want to be offensive. It's because I just don't know any better. And a good friend of mine always says to me, "When you know better, you do better." And I'm not gonna give myself grief because I don't know any better. My daughter will be like, "Dad, you can't say that," and I'll be all right. But we have to have these discussions and trust one another and call one another out. So we're going to look at our handbooks and our policies and engage with our student council, because they're, quite honestly, they're a generation that gets this better than, if you sat at my kitchen table when I was in high school, Archie Bunker was playing in the background. So it was a very different world that we grew up in. So we want to make sure that we're making people feel like a part of this place. And finally, we're going to engage and continue to do professional development with our faculty and our support staff, and we've dedicated March 5th to that. And we're going to do work. We're going to do some breakout work and some group work, and just do some very challenging work together that day to try to move ourselves forward with this very important goal. And that's all I have.
That was a lot, Dr. Cron.
Yeah.
It sounds like a very busy year.
Yeah, well, it's great to have the goals, and it holds me accountable. It keeps me focused. Freya Leahy, our head adjustment counselor, one day came into my office and gave me a gift, and it was a stuffed squirrel, because I'm very easily distracted. So I have it up on so I need things like this. So it's as much for me as you, and then at the end of the year, I'll report out how we did, and it's part of my evaluation. So I don't know if you have any questions or.
Anyone?
I have a comment.
Yeah.
So I agree with Mrs. Maroney. I think it was wonderful.
Yeah.
I want to specifically call out the fourth goal, and I just want to say that I love this.
Mm-hmm.
Every child deserves a safe space in their life, and I think sometimes we don't realize that not every child gets that at home. And I see that, unfortunately. And I think we should be so proud that that is our goal, to be a safe space for every child, and the world would be a better place if every child had a safe space. So thank you for making that a priority for our kids.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's very important. Very important. I take very seriously the responsibility. We are a public school. We spend sometimes more time with the children that we educate than the families do. I know I send my kids off to school every day, and they spend more time. We don't just teach them math and science. We try to inspire them to be good human beings and to be kind. And there's a lot of misunderstanding about that in the world right now that's resulting in a lot of fighting and arguing, when I really think for the vast majority of us, that's what we all want for our kids. And so I'm really trying to frame the issue of diversity, equity, and inclusion in a very specific way. This does not need to be something that we battle about. I don't want any child to feel bad about who they are and where they come from. I want them to feel good. And that means when they come to school, we are a safe place, because that's the only way you're going to learn, right? It needs to be a safe place. So, and it's easier said than done. So we'll just keep working at it and try to make it better. But it's our responsibility to at least push at it and ask the difficult questions. So.
I think we like to say, and you know this, that they're all our kids.
They are.
And we have to do everything we can for all of our kids.
Yeah.
And we know that our kids are lucky that they have us. They are sitting here volunteering, and we're taking the time to put the time in, same as coaches and lots of other people in town. But not every kid in this town has that. And I think that they need to know that if they're not getting someone at home that believes in them, that we believe in them.
Yep.
And I think as long as we always remember that, everything we're doing is, we're doing it for the kids. We're not doing it to answer the lady at Target that's yelling at us for this or for that. We're doing it because the kids walk through this door in the morning, and that's who we're here for.
Right.
So,
We're not doing it to impress the Jessie
Right.
Right.
coordinators or,
Right.
whatever.
Correct.
We're doing it for every child that is in front of us, and it's such an admirable goal. And I think, the world would be a better place if everybody
If every-
focused on our children and putting them first and before anything else, making sure they were safe. So I just very much value that goal, and I'm so proud. I'm so proud of our schools for a number of reasons, but specifically that one goal, I'm so proud. So thank you.
I can tell you, knowing each and every one of the principals and the vast majority of the teachers, that they embrace that value
Perfectly.
deeply. That they, when those kids are in their classroom, whether they're little or they're in 11th grade math, that they take that very seriously. And I'm very proud of them for that. And it makes their job a heck of a lot easier when they do, right? Because it's not an easy job.
right.
Being a teacher is not an easy job, and they're not getting rich. So if your heart isn't in it a little bit, you won't last.
Right.
So we talked about that today.
We did.
Your heart has to be in it a little bit. It's a great vocation, but it's hard work, and nobody's getting rich. So
Right, right.
they see their friends with their brand new cars and their fancy houses, and maybe they don't have that, but they do have memories. I just spoke with a student that I had in from about 2000. I mean, I had this student. He's a doctor now. He's an anesthesiologist. First one in his family to go to college, and I had him as a student for 10 years. And the joy that knowing that I played a small part in his life, I'm a happy person.
Right.
So
More enriching than
it
having
is.
a
It's very
car,
very
right.
enriching. So I think every teacher feels that way.
Right.
Very important. So
Well, we're lucky that that's who we have in the buildings for our students.
We are,
I think
yeah.
sometimes that's always my first thing when people say, you want to be on the school committee? I do. I am.
right.
Because I believe in the teachers, the faculty, the team that we have here in Rockland Public Schools, and they do well, and that makes it easier for us. It's easier to say yes, and we're responsible for every student, and they know it, and they feel it, and they want it. They're in it to win it.
Yep.
So we're lucky that this is the goals that our superintendent is putting forth to say it trickles down. This is what we're all responsible for. Any other
I
questions?
think you have to vote. I
We
think we
do.
need to vote on that.
Do we, any other questions before we vote? No? Okay. Entertain a motion to approve Dr. Cron's goals.
Motion to approve the superintendent goals as documented for 2023, 2024.
So you're first and you're
First.
I second.
Okay. All those in favor? Perfect. Thank you. Now, because you haven't talked enough, Dr. Cron, I'm going to tee it back to you
I have
with
nothing.
your report.
I have nothing to report.
You're
and
done
people
now.
are totally sick of hearing my voice. So I have nothing to add.
Add to that,
No.
okay? We'll start with, we'll move on to our public service announcements with Hope.
We held Project Pumpkin on October 28th, and I think that's always a good event the whole community seems to get involved in. We had tons of volunteers from the high school, and then all the kids seemed to really enjoy it. I know they loved me dressing up as Rapunzel, and so that was really fun to see them all super happy. And then also with that, we got like hundreds of cans and non-perishable donations that last week we were able to drop off to the Rockland Food Pantry. So kind of a good all-around make an impact event. And then also coming up, Key Club is hosting a coat drive in front of the high school on November 18th from 11 to 2, where you can just drive up, drop off a coat, any coats that are unneeded in your households, adult, kids, any at all, and then they'll all be going to families who need coats. So that's really good. And then we also have Powder Puff coming up. I believe it is Monday the 20th, and that's an event where the girls get to play football, and it's very fun to watch.
It's tradition.
Yep.
So say the coat drive again, November 18th?
18th, 11 to 2, in front of the main entrance of the high school.
All right, I think that's an important one. Everyone's
Yeah.
cleaning out their closets and figuring out nothing fits from last year, right? So you might as well pass on your coat. Thanks, Hope. I appreciate it. I appreciate you being here and listening to us for an hour of your time. An hour of your life you'll never get back. All right, move on to, we'll go left. Belinda?
I do not have anything.
Okay. Jamie?
I wrote down some as we were talking. Wanted to send some congratulations to the high school fall sports teams on a lot of great successful seasons. I know I'm probably going to miss football, volleyball, boys and girls soccer all made a run in the playoffs. And cheerleading, I think you're regional champs.
Yeah, they
And
just
I
won.
don't know, we were heading to states, I think, soon, right? And then I know there are some individual wins in cross country and golf as well. So congratulations to everybody. And then all the talk tonight about giving and community made me think about the holiday stroll, which is coming up on the 25th, Saturday, always a great event. And I know they are looking for volunteers. A lot of our great community organizations will be there as well. And then Rockland Holiday Magic, just today got the yearly reminder for donations. And if you don't know what Rockland Holiday Magic is, it's a wonderful organization that supports families with children under 16 in our town for help with Christmas presents and gifts during the holidays. So I believe if you're in need, you can reach out to your school nurses and they will get you in touch with Rockland Holiday Magic. And if you are able to donate, you can look them up. They have a Facebook page and Venmo and all that great stuff. So this community does a lot. So it's just another reminder how well and generous everyone is. So just wanted to highlight those items.
Awesome. That was impressive. Thank you. I will go on to you, Dr. Rosmo.
I have a few things. So one is the middle school parent-teacher conferences are this Thursday and Friday. So if you haven't signed up, please sign up. The elementary school are next Monday and Tuesday, and I know the teachers were reaching out on Class Dojo that if you need to, if you need help scheduling the conference or you need a conference outside of the conference hours, so please reach out to them. I'm not one for all the sports, I have to admit, I don't know them all, but I do know that the high school cheer team is on their way to continuing making history. I think they have the longest record for Rockland. Yeah, they do an incredible job. And so states are coming up, so I wanted to wish them the best of luck. I don't think they need luck. I think they have a ton of talent, but still wishing them the best. The youth football Mites won their Super Bowl, so congratulations to them. The youth football Mites and mixed cheer both won their conference or their cheer competition. And another one of the really special things that happens in Rockland is that the police and fire department meet them as they come off of Route 3 and they get an escort back to the high school. And it was so special and made me so grateful that I live in this town and that my kids get to experience that, because I just think that that is incredible. So thank you to the police and the fire department for doing that for our kids, because it means a ton to them. So those are my public service announcements.
All right. Well, I was going to, mine is to thank you for your service and the veterans that are out here in this town, but we have our very own veteran.
Yes, we do.
And I didn't thank you the last time because we were so far ahead of Veterans Day, but I thought of it on Friday. So thank you for your service and everyone out there that served to keep us free so we can sit here today. So that's all I have. Anyone else? Anything else? Nope. Okay. With that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor? Let's vote. Good night. Thank you.